Hey guys, it's Caleb from Rokblokz. Today in the shop we have this 2018 Nissan Leaf. We've got another mud flap install for you, so let's go ahead and show you how to install. Here we have the tools laid out that you'll need for install. First, you'll need a drill with a 1/4 inch drill bit to drill the dimples in the rear. Then you'll need a level, you'll need a razor blade. You'll also need a 10mm and a Phillips head drive. We also have a 10mm and wrench form, which makes it easier when installing the flaps with your factory splash guards. And then we have a set of insert pullers. If you don't have insert pullers, you can use a flathead. Here we have the front laid out. What you'll get in your kit is your flat for that corner and then the hardware. We'll go ahead and put a breakdown of that hardware on the screen right now. Now, let's head over to the vehicle and begin installing. Here we are at the front fender. We're going to begin by removing the factory hardware from the fender. To do so, it's going to be 2 Phillips head screws right here and right here. We've got ours pre-loosened. And then you also have a couple of inserts. You can take your flathead or your insert puller, pop those loose. We've popped ours already, got them loose. Now we're going to go ahead and set that hardware to the side. Now, before we begin mounting, we're going to take our red nylon clips, and those are going to correspond with the 2 holes up here. So we're just going to go ahead, flex our liner out of the way, slide the clips over the fender, aligning them with the holes. Like so, replacing the liner, making sure that the upper edge gets tucked back behind. Now with the liner back in place, we're going to grab our flap, and then we're going to take an 1 1/4 screw with a washer and go all the way up the fender. Let's take our screw with washer and go into the factory clips on these bottom 2 holes. Now we've got all the screws started by hand, and as you can notice, we have the factory splash guard options, or the Nissan OEM splash guards. This kit will work with the Nissan OEM splash guards, but not any of the aftermarket splash guards. If you don't have any splash guards, the kit will still work and mount just to your fender the exact same way. Now we're just going to take our Phillips head, with those snugged up, now we can go ahead, have the flap be just barely adjustable. We'll get it into the position that we like. Now we're going to check with a level. Adjust it to where we like. Once that's in place, we're going to fully tighten all these down and secure that. With those fully secured, that's how you complete the front install. You can repeat these same steps on the other side. Now let's go ahead and hop to the rear and begin installing there. Here we have the rear laid out. What you'll get in your kit is your flap for that corner. You'll get your worm tab and the new upgraded ABS lock tab. Then you'll also get the hardware. We'll go ahead and put a breakdown of that hardware on the screen right now. Before we head to the vehicle, we're going to assemble the flap on the bench right here simply by turning it over. We're going to take our worm tab and we're going to put it through like so. And then it's just going to worm its way through like so, and then you can pull until it clicks into place, and it will remain, and it will come in to about the center of the flap like so. Next, we're going to take our black nylon clip, place it on the same side as the logo, take our clip retainer, and just give that a little push until you hear it click into place. That's going to hold our clip. Next, because we are going to be installing with the OEM splash guards, we'll go ahead, take our razor blade, and we're going to cut the little tabs on this hole here to open that up. If you are not installing with the factory OEM splash guards, you can leave this hole blocked off and just mount at this location, and this location. But seeing as how the factory splash guards have a screw hole and a clip, we utilize that to reinforce the whole setup and keep that splash guard tucked in behind here. We'll show you in more depth on the vehicle. But for now, we're going to go ahead and just get this out of our way. Just give it a little bit of a rocking motion, just to get it like so. And those are just a couple little tabs that hold that in place, but they're really easy to cut with a razor blade. Now we have a nice mounting hole just like all the others, and we're ready to head over to the vehicle and begin installing. Here we are at the rear of the car. We're going to begin by removing the factory splash guard, or the factory option splash guard. You may or may not have these. The kit will still work with it. The instructions, they're along the same lines. One, you'll omit using some of the hardware that's provided, and then you will utilize some of the hardware that is part of this splash guard kit as well. If you don't have the splash guard, you won't need that hardware. Our kit will cover the full install. So yeah, to begin, we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove the 2 screws from the inside of the wheel well, holding the OEM Nissan splash guard in place. Now you'll remove the 10mm bolt on the bottom side. There will be 2 of them for those without the splash guard. This one you won't need to remove if you don't have the splash guard. And this is the second 10mm bolt, and the other 10mm bolt is right here. We'll also go ahead and remove that one as well. Now we can jump back up to the wheel well and show you what's going on there. With the factory splash guard removed, you'll notice that they have a special clip on the top hole for it and a small metal clip on the bottom. We're going to go ahead and remove that small clip on the bottom. We're going to replace that clip with our red nylon clip, and we're going to do that by separating this and sliding it over top of the fender there. Now with the clip in place, we can go ahead and begin the reinstallation process. And how we're going to do that is we're going to grab our flap. We're going to take one of our washers with our short 3/4 inch number 14 screw, and we're going to screw that into the black clip that is on our flap. We're going to get that about 75% tightened, so that way it's still just a little bit loose. And with that in place, we're going to take our OEM bolt from the bottom, and this is going to be the front hole, and we're going to put that right back up into that front hole. This bolt is going to go into the first hole here, and that's going to screw into the factory insert that's there. And you'll see this worm tab has a weird shape to it. That is so that we can slide that OEM splash guard into the fender here. Now we're going to take the OEM splash guard, and that is going to slide in behind the flap and kind of swoop up and right back into place. And now we can take our flap and we'll push that up against the fender here. And we want to pinch the fender with the black nylon clip that we installed there, just by simply popping it over. And that will hold our splash guard in place for just momentarily while we grab our 1 1/4 number 10 screws. And those are going to go right back into the holes for here. Now that we've got all of our screws started, we'll have this one that goes into our black clip. The middle screw here is only used if you have the factory splash guards and the special clip associated with that top hole. If you don't have the factory splash guard, you can omit that, and you don't even have to cut out that hole plug. The bottom hole here, on models with the splash guard already installed, the hole will exist and will already be drilled. If you don't have the factory splash guard, that lower hole you may need to drill, and you can do so by locating the dimple. We'll insert a picture of that. Now we can go ahead and get these snugged down. those snug, we can go ahead, take our level, check it with our level, make sure we get it to where we like it, and then we can go ahead and fully tighten these down. You don't want to tighten too tight. I'd suggest doing those by hand to make sure that you're not going to strip them out. Now we're going to jump on the bottom side and tighten the 2 factory bolts down there. One is a little bit tricky to get to now that the splash guard is in the way, but I'll show you how to get into there, and then we'll complete the install. So let's go ahead, jump down. To tighten the inner hole here, you'll need a box wrench, and I suggest lining the splash guard up and then just kind of lightly pulling it down just to gain enough access to get your box wrench in there. Then you'll be able to go ahead, give that a few turns to get that inner tab secured. With that one tightened down, you can replace the second 10mm going into the factory splash guard right here. For those who are installing without the factory splash guard, this is how it'll look. You'll have your tab, which just comes to this first number 10 bolt hole, and then you'll have just your 1 screw on the lower mount point here, which you will have to drill out, and to align that, you'll have a little dimple. Now that we've got both of those 10mm screws tightened on the bottom side of the splash guard, that is how you complete the rear install. You can repeat these same steps on the other side. Thanks for watching.